Hello everyone, and as always, welcome back to my channel. Or if it's your first time, welcome to my channel. My name is Marlene and I talk about eating disorder recovery and everything related to healing the relationship with your own body, with food, and with movement. Sorry, I'm laughing, I just dropped my mic and I feel like I made the most ridiculous face when I dropped it. But anyway, let's start right into this chaotic video, as we always do. And today I want to talk about mental hunger because a bunch of you guys texted me, emailed me, asked me questions about mental hunger in general, but also mental hunger after maybe being in recovery for years or for a certain amount of time. Let's just talk about what mental hunger is real quick and why it's such a big topic in recovery. Mental hunger is a form of hunger, and every dietitian will tell you that. Mental hunger is a form of hunger, but it's not the physical hunger, it's not the growling stomach, it's not the dizziness, but it's more like constant food thoughts, not being able to concentrate on anything else, like thinking about food all the time. For some people that also means not really being able to never finish a plate. It feels like I always have to finish my plate even if I'm physically full. That can all be signs of mental hunger. And mental hunger is an extremely important part in recovery. In recovery, you have to honor your mental hunger just as much as you have to honor your physical hunger. A lot of people go through extreme hunger in recovery, which I made a bunch of videos about, and mental hunger is a part of extreme hunger, not being able to think about anything else but food. And of course, you might have guessed it, it comes from restriction. That doesn't mean that you had to be in like severe restriction for a long amount of time. It actually also means that if you have a mindset of like earning food, making up for food, maybe purging, over-exercising, or not allowing yourself certain foods, that can all be part of mental hunger. And mental hunger can be so loud and can lead to the fact that you feel like you have brain fog and you can't focus on anything else. And I want you to know that this is normal. So many people are going through this, and maybe if somebody is watching who's been through this, because I know that some of my people that I work with have been through this and it got better, maybe you can leave a comment to give others some hope, because I can assure you it did get better for me, but maybe the more people can assure others, the better. Anyway, mental hunger is also something that can be super confusing because we live in a world where we constantly talk about discipline. If you're not hungry, you shouldn't eat. Maybe you're just obsessed with food. Maybe it's your ADHD. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. And I get it. It is confusing. And I understand that it can be extremely hard to live with all these information and still feel like, but I am mentally hungry. In early recovery, your body is basically catching up on trust. And I've mentioned it before when I talked about hunger in general and hunger hormones. Sending out bodily cues, especially hunger, requires a lot of energy for your body. So if your body can't really trust that enough food is around, if your body doesn't know if we're out of the famine yet, it will sometimes not send all the physical hunger cues right away, but it will send more mental hunger cues, meaning you will think about food all the time. Because if your body would send out physical hunger cues, you're physically hungry, it wastes the energy on sending out the physical hunger cues, but then there's no food around for the body, that would be considered a waste of energy, and that's the last thing we want to do when we're malnourished. So the body oftentimes tries to catch up. And for a lot of people, that means that it takes as long as it takes until your body feels safe again and knows, okay, I will get food when I am hungry. Some people also, even if they never had an eating disorder, experience mental hunger maybe in like a way smaller way. For instance, people who are too stressed to eat, and that should never be a thing. But a lot of people feel like, oh, I forget to eat, or I'm too stressed to eat, or when I have a lot going on, I just can't eat, and I'm just like going over my day and I can't eat. But then they find themselves thinking about food. Or at night when everything settles, they cannot stop thinking about food. That can also be seen as a form of mental hunger, but of course, in somebody who's recovering from an eating disorder, it's oftentimes way more severe, and also it can take way longer for mental hunger to fade. Now, what if somebody experiences mental hunger after being in recovery for years and years and years? That's a super important topic because it's way more common than you might think. And it can drive somebody crazy because they can feel like, I've gained all this weight, maybe I even feel like I gained too much weight, which is a story for another video. It feels unhealthy to eat even more because I'm not even physically hungry, and all these thoughts can come up. It is important to know that mental hunger can reappear during stress, or maybe it was never fully gone because you never gave yourself the chance to really work on all the underlying beliefs. Working on the behaviors, eating more, responding to extreme hunger is extremely important, and we cannot think ourselves out of an eating disorder. We can't recover without changing the behaviors. At the same time, only changing the behaviors oftentimes doesn't work for people either, because they have all the beliefs left and everything underneath, and that can lead to mental restriction. Even if you're not physically restricting, it can lead to mental restriction, it can lead to more stress, it can lead to bad body image, which then leads to more stress, and all these things can again lead to more mental hunger. Doesn't mean that you're backsliding or that you're doing something wrong. It's more like a signal. And just a quick note here. It's very, very normal to have mental hunger for a year, 1.5 years. I had mental hunger for over 2 years straight, and I was constantly responding to it. But it still took my body way longer to feel safe again. It's not like it's always over after a couple of months. That can be the case, and that doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. But for a lot of people, it just takes way longer. Mental hunger, however, can also be very connected to, for instance, other needs that are not met. For instance, your emotion, connection. So it can really make sense to take a look at these parts and take a look at, am I restricting somewhere else? Whether it is subtle restriction with food, am I cutting out certain things? Am I not allowing myself to eat in abundance? Am I having certain times that I'm only allowed to eat? Am I trying to avoid sugar? Am I over-exercising? Or is my restriction maybe even mental, and I constantly tell myself that I shouldn't be eating that way because I am too big, and if I would be smaller, I would be allowed to eat. All these things can play a part. But then it also makes sense to take a look at the other parts. Are my emotional needs met? Do I feel like I have enough coping skills to handle my emotions? Do I feel like I have enough connection with other people? Oftentimes when we feel like we're restricted from connection, whether that is physical connection or just emotional connection, friendships, good relationships in our lives, somebody to talk to, that can also lead to mental hunger. So restriction is not only physical or in terms of eating and food. It can be, and oftentimes that at least plays a part of it, but sometimes it's also more. So really taking a look at, am I really happy in life? Do I feel like I create the life that I want to have? And that doesn't mean that you always have to be happy. I just filmed another video in which I talked about how hard and tough life can be, and that especially right now, so many people are going through so many hard phases, and our world just feels incredibly unstable right now. So it doesn't mean that you have to be super blissful and happy all the time. But overall, do you feel like you have hobbies, you have connections, you have a job that you enjoy? And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that one or two of these pillars, if they don't really feel great right now, that this is the end of the world and you instantly have to change something. It's more like a signal to look at it and to see, okay, do I either want to change something about it, or do I want to bring something else in to cope with that? So for instance, I worked in jobs in my life where I was not completely happy. That didn't always mean that I immediately had to quit or change the jobs, but I had to make sure that outside of my job, I have enough things that make me feel good, that I could meet up with friends, that I could go to the beach, that I had some hobbies that I like to do. All these things can play a big, big part, because if you don't meet any of your emotional needs, chances are that mental hunger comes up as well. It can be extremely helpful and important to respond with curiosity and not so much with restriction. So that means you can try around to eat, to sleep, to rest, to try and see what other things do I want to implement in my life. It's not about controlling everything again. It's not about that you have to find the number one thing immediately or otherwise you are doomed. See it more like an experimental process in which you find out more about yourself and what you really need in life. I really hope this video helped you guys. Again, if anyone wants to share their opinion and their experience and maybe give others some hope, please always feel free to do so. I know that that means a lot for a lot of people. Let me know in the comments which other topics you want me to cover, and I will see you in the next one.